JY with the super chat says, Happy New Year to the A2HH family. 2023 is going to be a big year for y'all. Number one in the game. I'm super excited as well for the De La Soul discography to be available on streaming. Also, haven't listened to, as I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah, listen, I'm looking forward to that too. I've been waiting on De La Soul to be available for a minute. I think you and I have had conversations about the fact that I think De La Soul for a certain generation just goes unranked, for lack of a better term, because people don't have access to their material like that.
Yeah.
We just got through talking about the greatest hip hop groups of all time. I feel like if you want to talk about a group and a collective, I don't even want to say a collective because a collective can be a lot of things. A
Hmm.
group that is still together, never broke up, was super consistent with every damn effort, you can't really beat the longevity and the quality and the unity of a De La Soul.
No.
And I know I didn't put up my list, but in my personal opinion, I think that there could be an argument for them to be the greatest hip hop group ever, collectively from end to end. I think they missed maybe some of the hit records that some of the other groups have, or their impact is there, even if people don't acknowledge it. I think a lot of their impact people give Tribe credit for. Even if you look at the skits and the remixes, because I feel like they were the first act to even do remixes. Um, I think the skits too kind of comes down to them. Listening to how Outkast changed with every album and came with themes is way more De La Soul ish than it is Tribe. You know what I'm saying?
I understand all the things that you're saying. And I think that, how about this? I believe it's conversational,
Yeah.
but I think it's just conversational from the sake of having the conversation. Because I think really, if you really go beyond the scope of the actual records and albums themselves, which matters a whole
In the
lot.
map
Don't get me
now?
wrong. I mean, we both, we're both big catalog guys, correct?
Right, right,
Right. So they're up high mostly about catalog
right.
because whether whether it's fair or not, Tribe's impact greater.
Yeah,
NWA, Public Enemy,
yeah,
Wu-Tang,
yeah.
even Outkast. You know, so so they're missing on the impact side, and they suffer from some of what. And I like how you made the Outkast comparison because I know we always make the Tribe comparison with Outkast, but when you look at the hit record thing, because sometimes when we play Outkast stuff against other Titanic groups like a Tribe or a Mobb Deep, the hit records outside of Elevators and Bombs Over Baghdad really sometimes don't measure the way that we would like as big fans of the group, correct? I
Right.
think De La suffers from some of the same thing outside of some records. And so,
I think Daylight, for whatever reason, and obviously because it's Knee Deep, right? I mean, Knee Deep is probably my favorite song ever. You know, if somebody asked me what's my favorite song ever, I might say Parliament
really?
Funkadelic Knee Deep. So I think that the fact that Me, Myself, and I is kind of became like their flagship song over the years, even with all the quality that they've made, it almost feels like, okay, your biggest hit was damn near your first single. But these guys had a lot of great records. Like Stakes is High is
I
a
think it,
great song. Ring 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 is my favorite De La Soul song personally. That's actually my favorite single from them.
just because it's your biggest single doesn't make it necessarily your
Yeah,
best single.
it's nowhere near their best single. But I'm saying whenever
Yeah.
they introduce themselves, and for people who don't know their catalog like that, Me, Myself, and I is the one. Like I even remember hearing Denzel Curry making a Me, Myself, and I De La reference on his recent work. You know what I mean? Um,
No, it's their recognizable record.
it
That would be
is.
the way of putting it. It's their recognizable record. So,
Jay Short in
um,
the super chat, man. Jay Short's in the building early. We got a lot to talk about today, man. Jay Short says, not bringing up old topics, but what
you are.
but what the argument for PE not being number one? Peace, fellas. Happy New York. I'm sorry, Happy New Year's. Keep up the great content. I was just gonna say, in my whole daylight thing, my personal opinion, if we want to talk about groups, group albums, I don't really count Wu-Tang. I count Wu-Tang as a group. But if I'm ranking them as the best group of all time, I'm just counting group albums, group songs. I got Public Enemy at number one. But that's just me. Um, I mean,
Based on, when you're saying that, I mean,
you want to know what I'm
here's,
basing that on?
you're basing it on you think It Takes a Nation of Millions is greater than Enter the Wu-Tang.
I do.
And that's fair, and that's one of the very few albums that can lay claim to that. I think that's a very, very close discussion. B, Wu-Tang Forever is better than Public Enemy's Yo Bum Rush the Show Up. Or do you not agree with that?
Is it better than
Fear of a Black Planet?
Fear of a Black Planet though? Because ain't no fight the powers on Wu-Tang Forever. Ain't no Welcome to the Terror Domes on Wu-Tang Forever. It's not.
That's fair, but we're talking about an album versus two records.
No, it's more than that on that album. Brother's Gonna Work It Out's on that album too. That album's tough.
No, I like Fear. I like all the PE stuff. It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's just this is what I mean about the impact. Wu-Tang is so transcendent that it's hard for you to qualify them as a group without qualifying some of the solo material because it's so collaborative and it's so made in the spirit of Wu-Tang, which sound-wise is something unique that we've never heard before.
Same thing for PE.
Like when you look at a record like Guillotine on the Purple Tape, it's like, well, that might be on Ray's album, but that's some Wu-Tang shit, Mike.
I feel you, but I'm trying to be fair here where it's like we're talking about the group. We're talking about the group. Now, if we're talking about, Ray's album, it wouldn't be fair to sit there and give Ray props as an individual for the Purple Tape and the Purple Tape 2, and then give Wu-Tang props for the album 2. It's either one or two, you know what I'm saying? It's either one of the others project.
No.
It's either a Wu-Tang project
Everybody
or it's a Ray
deserves
project.
credit, but that's what I mean about the way that they change. How about this? This is what I mean. Here's just the reality of the matter. They're still the greatest group of all time because they had to change the game because they had so many frontmen.
No, I agree with you. Like,
there's too many frontmen. It's like, no, we have to do something different. We can't just make albums together. That's not going to work. We got like 4, 5, 6, 7 frontmen.
But you know what? You know what we call that, and that's in sports too. That's on paper. Like on paper, yes, but you would also think on paper that Wu-Tang, with that collective and that many talents, they would have given us more than 2 great albums too as a group, right? If somebody told you in 1993 that they're gonna max out with 2 albums as a group, would you believe that?
Yes, because they had so many frontmen.
Well,
like it's hard for groups. Hold on, listen. It's hard for groups to stay together when there's one front man.
I agree with that.
They have Method Man, Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, the Jizza, and Ghost.
It's incredible.
And Deck, those are frontmen. Deck just released the album last year, has a frontman. He's like 5th or 6th in this lineup.
No, I agree. It's an unbelievable dream team of a lineup. But
yeah. What did New Edition do?
I agree. And you know what? It's funny. I was just watching that New Edition biopic. I think that Wu-Tang is definitely the new edition of hip-hop.
I was just listening to If It Isn't Love the other day.
I think Can You Stand the Rain is one of the most incredibly written records of its time. Shout out to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. The fact that they were able to utilize everybody on that song and nothing felt cluttered, that's amazing songwriting, and that's being a great group. Now, back to the group
composing and arranging, too. It's called composing and arranging.
And understanding, you know what? I'm going to have Johnny over here. I'm going to have... But Ricky, the fact that they were able to utilize Ricky and Ralph and Johnny, it's awesome. You know what I'm saying? So, but with that being said, when it comes to the group dynamic, I have to give props to the group dynamic. And when it's time to actually put together a group album, a Public Enemy album, an NWA album, an Outkast album, a Tribe album, what's the end product? And so that's kind of how I'm rating it. It's a little different when you're in a space where it's like, okay, well, this is a Ray album, and everybody else is kind of helping out. That's still group stuff, but like you said, being able to actually compose and arrange and produce all of those individuals at once,
Mhm.
that's the difficulty of the group and having that talent in the group. And I don't think it's fair to judge individual projects with Wu-Tang as a group, if
But
that
you
makes
have
any
to. Like,
sense.
this is what I'm saying about you have to, because it's like, well, when you're listening to a Public Enemy album, you're probably hearing mostly Chuck D's thoughts and everybody spinning off of it. When you're hearing a Tribe album, you're hearing mostly Q-Tip's thoughts, the spin off of it, the Roots, Black thoughts, and the spin off of those things. With Wu-Tang, you have so many ideas and creative processes to spin off of. Well, it's hard to get all of that greatness out. It's hard to manage that team. It's better done in spurts and in separation. And that's why I look at it that way. Like all these guys that you know and love and the way that they're revered, like the way that you love Ghost, if they do what you're talking about, well, Ghost don't become Ghost like that.
I agree. But again, that's the give and take. Like you're not it's a sliding scale. Like obviously the
So
individuals
we
on
wouldn't get Iron Man or Supreme.
yeah, I know. But it's like
I'll take it like this.
I'm fine with the way things worked out with Wu Tang, but at the same time, I don't think it's fair to give that credence to the group. Now, clearly, if
No, they
we're
deserve
counting
that
all
credence over
those
everybody. No,
things,
that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you that over every hip hop group in history that was created, they actually do deserve that credence, including over Public Enemy. Because Public Enemy got one, maybe two frontmen. We're talking about a group with 5 or 6. They do deserve a different exemption because of that.
well,
Go
again,
get me a collective that got. Show me the collective that has even half of that, and you know what I'm saying. And I'll take it
NWA.
away. It's like when the odds are stacked so much that it's like no, we got to give them that. It's
But no
just
one's ever
blatantly
even
obvious.
attempted that. You know what I'm
And
saying?
you got evidence. You have Liquid Swords. You have the Purple Tape. You have Iron Man. You have Return to the 36 Chambers. You get what I'm saying? It's like there's evidence that they were supposed to do that.
Let me get to the super chat real quick. Blue Collar Hustler, and I want to know what the people in the room think. Do y'all think that Wu Tang should be counted just for group albums, or do you think that Wu Tang's overall ranking should be counted with the individual group members' albums as well? Blue Collar Hustler with the super chat says, "Have you guys heard the rumblings that Outkast might have something cooking this year for the 20th anniversary of Speakerbox Love Below? Check Twitter. Thoughts? Man, ain't nothing happening, man." Ain't nothing happening. Yeah, right. Believe it when I see it. L Boogs with the super chat says, "Happy New Year, Mike and Coop." Says, wishing you both and your families all the best in 2023. Sending love from the 6. Also, I wanted to take back what I said about Herbert. It's really good. Good. 36 Chambers. I know where he stands on this. He says 3 Feet High and Rising was one of the first full-length albums I ever heard and shaped my love for hip-hop. So glad to see the licensing issue solved. Hopefully it is, man. And hopefully the artists, end up getting what they wanted out of this situation. I mean, just can't fight the machine at the end of the day, man. Like, the streaming platforms are gonna end up having your music one way or another. 36 Chambers with the super chat says, "At what point do we consider something like the Purple Tape a Wu-Tang album rather than a solo effort with multiple Wu-Tang members?" Well, that's the thing. Would you rather consider the Purple Tape Ray's album or Wu-Tang album?
Well, that's the give and the take that some people are going to have to accept. Is that a Ray solo album? This is what I mean about the spinoff. It's on some Wu-Tang shit, but it's Ray's version of some Wu-Tang shit, and everybody is spinning off of Ray on this album.
Is Iron Man an Avengers movie?
Yes, very much that way. That's a great analysis and comparison. Like, very much that way. It's like, no, we about to do this Wu-Tang shit. We about to do it like in Ray's like crime mafioso, like mind state type of way and cinematic approach and visual aid to it. That's why Ray's kind of looked at as the glue guy, because they came together so beautifully in his chamber. Like, his chamber's the most beautiful one for them to spin off of and do all their fun rap shit. That's why you get Guillotine and Verbal Intercourse and Wu Gambinos
He's got
and
some
Ice
incredible
Cream
posse cuts on
and
there.
Ice Water and Knuckleheads. That's what I'm saying. He's the best spinoff guy. When they get in his chamber, they all spin off so beautifully. It's like, well, you can't take that away from him necessarily.
Huh. I mean, because it's hard to compare
There
it
is
to
incarcerated
anything.
Scarfaces and Spot Rushers
It
and
is.
Knowledge God.
36
Those aren't
Chambers,
regular records. Those are dope ass records, Mike.
incredible records. 36 Chambers with a super chat says, Wu's group albums and solo albums were damn near the same thing. In my opinion, you should be treated collectively since they're always crossover so many members. So are we going to do that with every group then? Or are we just going to do that with Wu-Tang?
No, I mean, because I look at the Fuji somewhat in that regard too. It's like I don't just look at like Blunted on Reality and the Score. I do look at like the Carnival kind of like in that vein, and I kind of group the Miseducation because it has like even the Miseducation, even though it's like Lord's album, it's still little, it's got some.
I'm with you on.
It's got some eclectic Carnival Fuji like vibes.
Vibe wise, yes, I'm with you as far as like the Carnival, but the Carnival was billed in that way. It's Wyclef in the refugee camp, kind of like Puff Daddy and the Family. So it was already kind of billed in the sense where it was like, okay, this is an extension of a Fuji album anyway. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I feel like if we do that with Wu-Tang, then what's stopping us from doing that with NWA? I mean, because again, after listening to Dope Man, I'm like, the best trio ever in hip hop is probably Cube, Dre, and Easy.
Most charismatic.
Name a better trio in hip hop than that.
As far as like in a group?
Period. You know what I mean? That have made music together.
See, this is what I'm saying. So, I mean, I'll take Ray and Ghost and pick a third Wu-Tang member.
Over Dre, Easy, and Cube? You know what you're getting with
together,
that?
Mike. They only made them. You talking like they made like 30, 40, 50 songs together, Mike. They made like 10, 12 records together.
They made Straight Outta Compton.
I'm very well aware of what records they are.
They made They made Easy Does It.
I know the names of the songs. Thank you.
They made Easy Does It. I mean, I'm talking about like
I'm
the
very
albums.
well aware.
And that's no disrespect to Ren. Because Ren
aware.
did his part too. Ren really stepped up on Niggas for Life. But if we be real here, the nucleus of that NWA sound in the highest moments is Dre, Cube, and Easy.
But it's only like 10 or 12 songs, Mike.
Well, okay, what trio you got? You got the Wu-Tang, Ghost, Ray, and Meth trio? Because we saw what they were able to do together.
Yeah, or you can insert Jizza, or insert Dead, or insert Kappa. The records are there.
I think the best trio out of the Wu-Tang, and you're probably going to disagree, but it's Kappa, Ray, and Ghost. If we want to talk about a trio that made the best music together, it's Kappa, Ray, and Ghost.
I'm okay with that.
If you want to throw Ray, Ghost, and Meth, okay, they got some dope records together, but as far as chemistry and sounding like a real trio, a real unit, it's Kappa, Ray, and Ghost. Yeah.
I'll give you that because Ice Water is one of my favorite rap songs, like, period. Like, just
Ice Cream.
Rap shit.
They got Ice Cream in their arsenal.
One of my favorite records, period. Ice Cream.
They got
Daytona 500.
I was just about to go.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
They're all on Winter Wars together.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying.
That's the trio.
no, but that's what I'm saying. But they have the records over a course of time that it's like you're talking about the impact of NWA.
They're not better
like what
than
actually happened.
I love those guys. You know how much I love Ghost and Kappa.
You're just talking about Straight Outta Compton, though, Mike. You're essentially talking about one album and some stuff's on Easy's first album.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're saying that outweighs everybody else.
I can't think of a better trio than Dre, Q, and Easy. I can't. I mean, the Fugees are close, but
no, they're not.
I think Clef and Lauren as a duo musically. You know what I loved about Prize though, and I think this goes understated, and we don't really see this in hip hop. Period. You actually had somebody who was a businessman that was in the group. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you had the front person in Lauren. You had the arranger, the musician, and Clef, and you actually had the businessman and Prize. I mean, you went to business school and everything. Their contracts were straight, and I think that's incredibly important, especially in hip hop, especially with groups. That's something we never seen. And I know we, kind of tongue in cheek when it comes to Prize and his position in the Fugees, but I think Prize is extremely important in the Fugees. Look on the back of the score. It says executive produced by Prizewell. It does.
I'm not about to spend time doing all this.
No, but again, that's part of the trio. Everybody, because again, Easy didn't write, but Easy had I think they're very similar to those in that sense. The front man being Cube / Easy, but Easy's the businessman and Dre is the producer. That's what makes a great trio. I think the
I'm not
trios that
speaking
you're
to the
talking
greatness.
about, they all just rhyme. You know what I mean?
I'm not speaking to the greatness. I'm speaking to the brevity. That's all.
The brevity of what?
The
Them as a collective?
brevity of it. I mean, because how about this? When we talk about certain MCs, in their catalogs, we're like, well, they really didn't, they really haven't made enough music on that level for us to solidify putting them in this position. And it's like, now what we heard was brilliant, but you're acting like we heard like 5 to 7 years of it.
I see what you're saying. I'm looking at this thing as more of in a vacuum.
In a vacuum,
yeah.
Yes.
And
okay,
again,
so you're talking in a
kind
vacuum.
of like how we look.
Well, if that's the case, yes, because it's like, well, every record they made together slapped. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's kind of like even how we're looking at Wu-Tang as a, like you look at this lineup, there's no way you could put any group above them. You know what I mean? I think the only way to make it fair is to just be like, listen, group albums apply, and where do you put them? And even with the group albums in tow, I got them like third maybe. And you know what I mean? And that's just giving them all kind of strikes off for not even including the solo stuff.
If the group albums are just what's in tow, I mean, I think De La goes up.
Tribe
Public
goes
Enemy
up
probably goes up. Tribe goes up. See, that's what I'm saying. If you're just counting the group albums,
Outkast has a better group catalog than them too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Well, they actually may slide out of the top 5 even because it's like I could argue that even Mobb Deep has a better group catalog than Wu-Tang. Because they have 3 great albums. Wu-Tang only has 2, unless you want to count the double disc, because it's separated to make it 3. You feel what I'm saying? And then it's conversational. So that's what I mean about doing that catalog thing. And I'm going to tell you something. It's like, you know this and I know this because we've lived through it and we're still living through it some today. Ain't no way in hell Wu-Tang's not a top 5 group.
No way.
And so the fact, and that's what I'm saying about, well, they are the exception to the rule because it's like you have to change the discourse of the conversation based on their contributions.
Right.
It's kind of like the Barry Bonds and the walks thing and the plate appearances thing, Mike, that we were talking about, where it's like, you can't discredit that happened.
There's only 2 groups that I think that I can just, with good conscience, put ahead of Wu-Tang. And that's PE and Tribe.
Public Enemy and Tribe.
Everybody else is like, I can't do it in good conscience. You know what I'm saying? Like,
here's
because
how
of the impact. It may be Cass, but even with Cass, it's like it's 2 guys, and we're talking about up against 9. That's just not a fair fight for Cass anyway. But like Tribe is a collective, right? And their music, created a lane. Same thing with Public Enemy. Their music created a lane. They were a collective. So I guess from the optics of it, I could see them matched up with Wu-Tang a little bit more than a duo,
Right.
Do you think let me ask you this. Do you think that Outkast made better music than Wu-Tang?
As a group?
And we're just talking about sonically, and we're talking about as a group, individuals. Like if you had the choice to listen to one catalog, you can listen to Outkast catalog / Dungeon Family catalog stuff, or Wu-Tang's catalog / all the solo stuff, or whatever.
Wu-Tang.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's like when you say that, it's like, well, Enter the Wu-Tang and the Purple Tape, in my opinion, are probably better than anything that's come out of that camp. And Aquemini is the only one that's even in that conversation.
Okay.
And so just off that alone, it's like a 2-to-1 conversation in terms of like your all-time great album rankings. Because even when you bring up Public Enemy and Tribe, I would tell you that it's like if I was making a top 10 like list right now, I could easily see myself putting like It Takes a Nation like 6, Enter the Wu-Tang 7, The Low End Theory 8. It's like super, super close. Like that.
Yeah, and if you and I were just matching up song for song like we did with the Public Enemy, Eric B and Rakim, it's like I could go toe to toe with songs with Public Enemy versus Wu-Tang. I could go toe to toe with Wu-Tang and Tribe Records. I don't know if Cass can do that. I just don't.
Right, like that's what I'm saying. It's just like here's my fear with Outkast. It's like do you understand what it would be like? And this is what I mean about sliding the Clemini down, even though I don't want to do it because I think it's like a personal love of the record that we have. And maybe some nostalgia from our formative years of being Southerners too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about Snoop too, because I think there's some objectivity lacking sometimes, even on our part, because we were raised with some East Coast biases based on the publications and the skew of them.
Yeah.
But I say all of that to say, I mean, Mike, when we did that Patreon and you played those Public Enemy songs that were off It Takes a Nation, it makes me frightened for Aquemini.
Oh yeah.
When I think about playing those record ups against Into the Wu-Tang, I'm not bothered at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, go ahead. I got something for that. Yeah. Go ahead. I got something for that.
Even songs that I didn't even think. Even songs that I didn't even have marked on my sheet like that were going, like the Prophets of Rage and stuff. Like
Prophets of Rage is epic. That's what I'm saying.
I wasn't even gonna play. Was it the Flash sample? You know what song I'm talking about. Terminator X. I wasn't even gonna play Terminator X, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna play it. And when I played it, I'm like, how was I not gonna play this? Like,
great.
They just got so much great stuff. Dame252 with the super chat says prediction: Cole will have the best album this year. Oh, we'll get into predictions in a second too.
Yeah,
Jay Short says, Coop, I could use the Wu argument for NWA. West Coast in the house.
I mean,
but like Coop said, the difference is Wu was still Wu-Tang when they were doing their individual stuff, where NWA was broken off and done.
Right. There's no NWA records on The Chronic.
Yeah.
On 2001.
Yeah.
On America's Most. On Death Certificate.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Again, that's me looking at that trio in a vacuum. And you know what? And we could say the same thing about Face, Beans, and Jay. You know what I mean? Like, that's a trio in a vacuum. They went 3 for 3. That's a tough one to beat. Now, I would love to put Face, Beans, and Jay, produced by maybe Kanye West, Just Blaze. Would they make a better album than Cube, Dre, and Easy?
No.
I don't know. Chemistry.
Like, it's different
they got
when you're
chemistry.
doing it. It's different when you do it with your neighborhood for your neighborhood, Mike. It is.
Yeah.
It's different.
36 Chambers with a super chat says, how many members need to be included to call it a group album? Enough members or solo Wu effort automatically makes it a group album. Are we only saying who is listed in the album cover then?
No, the Wu-Tang solo albums to me, I mean, they describe them themselves like this. They're chambers, like where people, literally, it's like when you hear Iron Man, well, how about this? Ghost Chamber is more soulful than Ray's Chamber. Ray's Chamber is more edgy, more street. You feel what I'm saying? So the way that you rhyme when you're in Ghost Chamber ain't the way you rhyme when you're in Ray Chamber. When you on Liquid Swords, it's called Liquid Swords, Mike. Like it's lyrics. You bring in your lyrical game, as in Ghost on Fourth Chamber, Method Man on Shadowboxing, Inspector Deck on Duel of the Iron Mike and Cold World, and Master Killer on Duel of the Iron Mike. Ghost and Ray on Investigative Reports. Like, you bring your lyrical A game because that's the chamber that you're in.
I've seen
Even
people in
RZA
the
brought his
chat.
A game to Liquid Swords lyrically.
Everybody did, yeah. You
Because
know,
it's Liquid Swords, it's the Jizza.
yeah. You know what? I see people in the chat saying, Jay-Z and Nas and the group. Like, that's one of those things that is on paper. Jay and Nas haven't proven that they can make great music together, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? There's certain people who have chemistry, and for whatever reason, I think we only saw the chemistry they could possibly have. Actually, I don't even think we saw it on Black Republican. I just think it's the best song that they did. The chemistry's
No,
not even there on
I
that.
like the Black Republican. I like the way they played off of it. I think, for who they are, the song just can't tantamount ever enough unless it's one of the best rap songs you ever hear. How about this? Unless they have a How High type of song and moment, people are never going to be satisfied.
Ooh, but see, no, that's
But
the
because that's
bar,
what no, that's what the
though.
expectation is when you're
That's
dealing with that level of MC, is it
that.
not?
Listen, that's the bar. I'm glad you brought up How High, because
Yeah.
again, it's fucking amazing that these guys had never made a song together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know how well they knew each other at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that they could just step in the booth and make How High the first time out, that shit is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is amazing. I don't even know who to attribute that to. Is it the
See, but
fact that
those are
both of them are just incredible collaborators? That could be one part of it, because I think Method Man is just a great collaborator anyway, right? And I think they're both fans of each other and their versatility.
oh,
That's
you
the
want to
best. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I had two epiphanies while you were speaking. First of all, they both come from group type of atmospheres. For one, obviously there's Wu-Tang Clan, but people forget that Redman and like Def Squad and Hit Squad was like an actual thing where he's rolling with EPMD
Yeah.
and K Solo and Keith Murray and trailing EPMD on tour in the late 80s and early 90s. So they both come from a collective state of mind. But here's what I mean. In a vacuum, see, those are the nuances and the details, Mike. In a vacuum, when you know two guys are all-time great and they come together to do a song, well, you want the song to be all-time great because, well, you're very, very clear what these people are capable of doing. And that's what How High is in a vacuum. It's like, oh, that's two of the greatest MCs that ever lived that came together and like literally knocked it. Like, it's not just a home run. It's one of the longest home runs ever hit.
But to be fair, when Blackout came out, a lot of people, and I love that album personally, a lot of people were underwhelmed because of the expectations of what a How High was. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, we were expecting when Blackout came out, we were expecting to have a conversation like, is Redman and Method Man a better duo than Outkast type, conversation. But we didn't have that. You know what I mean? Because again, the expectations of those two guys coming together, and to me, they knocked it out the park. But it could just never be enough. You know what I mean? Just because of who they are.
Who did most of the production on Blackout?
Eric Sermon did. I always thought that was the thing.
Can I submit something to you, if I may?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time when I don't have Eric Sermon ranked as high, that album and the production on that album is why. Because I feel like, for me personally, the production on that album is maybe one of hip-hop's biggest missteps. Because I don't think he crafted beats that really fit the artist style and really tried to forge into maybe new territory. I think he kind of went for what he knew and what worked. And this wasn't the time to play it safe. This was the time to go explore. And I also think that there needed to be more variety. Like, this album needed heat. It didn't just need him. And that's not saying like he can't handle it. I'm saying for who they are as MCs. Like, I was listening to the Purple Tape 2 today, actually, Mike. The production, like the beats on there. And then I'm looking at who's doing the beats, and I'm like, oh, well, yeah.
Well, I'm not making excuses, right? But we also have to factor in, this is in an era where, you're not really able to, digitize and send people beats like that and they made this album on tour, from what I'm understanding. They made this while they were on the Hard
They
Knock
need to
Life
stop
tour.
making albums on tour.
Yeah, and so I guess, but see, I think
It's
that
a
that was
count on
the
tour, right?
as individual solo artists though, that was the time when they were both together. So I think that that's kind of how that album came together, like on tour.
Do you
Even
love the production on
even
Blackout? Just yes or no. Do you think the production
no,
is
I
great?
don't love. I never did. I love the rhyming and the
You love the
chemistry. I
rhymes,
think
don't
the
you?
chemistry's at a 10. But I'm just telling you why
Hold
the
on. With the
production came
chemistry,
out the way it did.
hold on, pause, because I know people think that I'm hating. If the chemistry is at a 10 and the rhymes are at the 10, why is this album not more revered?
Yeah, it's the production. I mean,
Okay,
even
so
when I
I'm
used to
not
ride around
bugging.
and play it with my friends or whatever, they weren't really rocking with it because of the production. Now, the songs that RZA did, like Serial Killer and Run for Cover, those are bangers.
Run
But
for Cover is a anthem.
at the time, Eric Sermon's Def Jam, they were on a Def Jam tour. More than likely, Eric Sermon was out there on tour with them, and they were
Oh,
creating this album on tour. That's why he
no.
has so much production on there.
Well, that's also called balancing. It's called balancing your financial sheet well when you take a producer this in house.
Yeah.
It's not that the price point is different, it's that it's in-house, therefore on your books, and you don't have to do any extra accounting or backtracking at the end of the year to find out and piece your numbers together. It's right there on your balance sheet because it's in-house, which means your accountant can't fuck it up. If they do fuck it up, you fire them because it's like, well, the production credits and the money that we paying this motherfucker for this album is in-house.
And you don't have to negotiate with another label either. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to deal with that part of the process. Jay Short with the super chat says, I think 20 songs Dungeon Family can hang with Wu. And I love Wu, but I feel the Dungeon Family more because they have more substance and soul in their production. I'm not going to disagree with that. Now, if we talk about the Dungeon Family versus the Wu, it's like, okay, that can go song for song. I'm comfortable with my Dungeon Family knowledge and being able to use the Dungeon Family's catalog to combat the Wu catalog. I'm confident in that.
Okay, so remember when I was telling you we need to step our Patreon game up about like the battles that we pick?
You want to do that one?
I do. That's better. If you want to do that,
we could do that on
feel
Patreon.
for you like Shaka Khan, like Andre said on Ain't No Thing.
I know. I'm a Wu-Tang fan too, because all I'm thinking about is like when a Brooklyn Zoo comes on, like what I got for that, man.
No, I mean I get it. You got cell. I mean to be honest with you, like Soul Food's probably your sleeper because you got Cell Therapy, Goodie Bag, Dirty South.
Somebody said don't do it, Mike. I gotta represent, man. I gotta represent. I can't.
I want you to represent, Mike. I love the Dungeon Family. There are inspirations to rap.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think they're the South, especially if you're from Atlanta. Like they're your inspiration to rap.
Those are my two favorite crews, man.
Yeah,
Wu-Tang
me too. No, me too. Undoubtedly,
Family, so.
like unequivocally, like Wu-Tang and Outkast. Like like I grew up literally Tupac, Nas, Biggie, Outkast, Wu-Tang. That's my five. That's like my core five hip hop. So Outkast. And like that's part of my shit.
Styles make fights.
My extension Goody too. You know what I mean?
Somebody's asking if Killer Mike's Dungeon Family. I mean, he's second generation. I don't even need to use any of that.
I don't know if Killer Mike has a song that would crack your 20 anyway.
I don't think so.
I mean, what you got between the Outkast catalog and Soul Food and Still Standing is enough. And don't forget about Breeze. I know you. I'm gonna tell you what. You want to know what? Creatine's one of my favorite records that ever came out of the Dungeon Family. That's one of my 10, 15 favorite Dungeon Family songs. I love Creatine.
One of my favorites, Holiday from Woodstock.
Okay, I like Holiday. The beat on Holiday crazy.
The beat on Holiday is crazy. Yeah, I'm down to do it. You know what I'm saying? Jay Short with the super chat says, "Thanks, fellas. I got 3 verses come true." Yeah, Jay Short did come with that. He actually came with the what was that? The Brooklyn and Queens one too, which was epic.
He did.
That was cool.
I
think the thing is, man, Wu-Tang shit is just so hard and has such an edge, whereas the Dungeon Family stuff is like more soulful. And to match up with what you're about to do, I'm really gonna have to dig for the Benz or Beamer type records that those guys did, you know. And even with that, it's gonna be a tough battle.
I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just gonna throw haymakers. I'm not even gonna like try to be cute.
Nah, don't. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Wu-Tang got. I mean, okay. So even with all that being said, I probably got De La at about maybe 5 without even thinking
I
too
think I
tough.
got him at like 5. I think when I did my list on Twitter, I had him at like 6, 5 or 6.
I think I got your list right here. Let's see.
Wu-Tang,
Yeah, you got them at 5. You got Mob Deep over De La.
I do.
Um,
Their impact is greater, and I think Prime Prodigy is better than Pasanus to me.
I think that the
Prime,
one thing that's different, and let me look at your list real quick. I think the one thing that's different about
yeah,
De La that really stands out here is the lack of star power from individuals in the group, and I say that respectfully. I mean, because you look at Wu Tang, like you said, you got like 5 like frontliners right there. Tribe
easy.
got Q-Tip, Cass got shit, Big Boy Andre, Mob Deep got Prodigy. Public Enemy got Chuck and Flav. NWA got Easy and Q. Run DMC, even though I think DMC is the better rapper, in my opinion, they got Rev Run. You know what I'm saying? The Roots got Tariq. You know what I mean? Three
That's what I'm
six,
saying. Like
yeah.
it's when I'm putting them at 5, that's because their catalog is so great that I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to them to put it there. But I'll tell you what, when I
You know the
say
group
this,
that's similar to them though, and I just saw it on the list is EPMD in that sense. As far as the star power goes,
ooh, and they have bigger records actually.
yeah, EPMD is, EPMD and De La kind of have the similar thing going on. They got like a great catalog, album for album. They got bangers. I think they probably got a little bit more bangers than De La, even though I think De La made better albums. But as far as
Yes.
that star power that these other groups have, I think EPMD and De La have that similar, quote unquote issue.
I can't even lie, I'm listening to you, but half of my brain is thinking about these 20 Wu-Tang songs.
Who's the other group? UGK obviously got Pimp C. Come on, man. Clips. You know, as a
You know,
collective.
the fun thing about these lists is that they're supposed to be fun and have us talking about them with the fervor that we're talking about, and even unpacking some things. Like, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I missed. Houdini, and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. I forget who pointed that out to me on Twitter. They're like, you ain't showing the pre-85 like any love Coop. I was like, I was born in 81. You know what I mean? I was
Houdini.
like, I wasn't there. I don't know. I was like, I told him I'm trying to put something together with one of my OGs so we can do a segment where we can like show love like to that era and that time maybe a little bit more. I was like, but I can't speak on what I don't know. And it's like, as much as I love Houdini, and you even spoke about preferring Houdini to Run DMC, correct?
Yeah, I
But
think Houdini made better music, in my opinion. Obviously, Run DMC had the bigger impact per se, and I don't know if they had a longer run. Yeah, they had a longer run, but Houdini has One Love. Houdini has Friends. Houdini has Freaks Come Out at Night. Give me 3 Run DMC songs that you prefer over those 3. And that's just, I mean, those are some big, big records that have been reused, re-looped. If you hear the One Love beat, you know what it is.
I cannot deny what you're putting down right now.
And I mean, and that doesn't even count some of the street records that Houdini had, like I'm a Hoe, and you know what I'm saying, like Mr. Magic. Houdini got a catalog, man. Andre Shashir with the super chat says, "What up, fellas? My bad off topic, but Coop, where did you get that hoodie from? I need one." He's just now getting into the show. Coop was saying it was
I'm
comfortable and
about to put it in
everything.
the chat. No,
Yeah,
I'm about to put it in the chat. I forgot. Yeah, and it's comfortable. It's comfortable, Dre. It's super comfortable. I'm just rocking. I've been rocking this thing all day. I ain't barely took it off. I ain't even gonna lie. I felt good.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, "Can you guys rank these first time pairings? Nas on Life's a Bitch, Nas and AZ on Life's a Bitch. Excuse me. Dr. Dre and Snoop on Deep Cover, Redman and Method Man on How High, Jay and Big on Brooklyn's Finest." Okay, off the top of my head, damn, those are some good ones. I'll say this, and I say this respectfully: Jay and Big are last. Um, I think How High is first for me. Then I'm probably gonna go Life's a Bitch and then Deep Cover. That's tough because Deep Cover is epic, man. That's tough.
I think Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg are the best like actual combo ever.
I agree
They're the
with that.
actual.
That
They're
we
the
can
real.
agree on.
They're the real dynamic duo.
They are.
And
Not
I'm gonna put
Eminem.
Deep
Not
Cover at
Eminem.
number one
Yeah.
because that is your introduction to the real dynamic duo, which
Yeah.
is Dre and Snoop. So I got Deep Cover number one. As much as I love me some How High, I think Life's a Bitch is just a better record end to end. And so I'm gonna go Life's a Bitch number two, and then I'm gonna go How High, and I'm with you like Big and J is pulling up the rear. They ain't getting no medal. They're just gonna get honorary mention, unfortunately. But all classic records.
Mad Max said How High's not first, man. I'm biased. How High changed my life. I seen them niggas in that video and saw the chemistry with those two guys. I was like, man, whatever that is, that hip hop shit, I got to be down with that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very biased to that record. That's actually probably one of my favorite hip hop records ever. That, Shadowboxing, and Ice Cream had a similar effect on me where it was like, oh yeah, I'm a fan. Mind you, Method Man was my favorite rapper growing up too. So
I can remember I was writing down the words to Shadowbox, and I was like, "What the hell?"
when that nigga came in, I break you down to the bone gristle.
His flow.
Yeah, when that nigga came through, I break you down to the bone gristle. I'm like, yo, man, this
Was he?
nigga's crazy. You know my steez.
Yeah.
Burned it to a third degree. Yeah, I'll know those verses for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, all that to say, looking forward to Daylight getting on streaming platforms and looking forward to people who haven't really gotten the chance to delve into their catalog to delve into it. They're one of the greats and they should be treated as such. And hopefully they do a full rollout for this. And I hope that there's a tour that kind of backs that too, because I know they tour a lot. And I'm looking forward to Daylight even putting out more music. They're what you wish you want a group to be, right? Like they're literally, I would say them, Public Enemy goes through their stuff. They kind of, come together, break apart and all that. But De La Soul is the Rolling Stone of, of hip hop. They've stayed together the whole time. They've been here since 88, 89. They're going to go out there and tour. As you say, they go to work. You know what I mean? They put out consistent efforts and they make music or made music and still do. But they made music, when they were young that they could perform as older men.
Not a lot of rap groups can say that too.
Yeah.
They have to pick and choose as they get older because of subject matter or lack thereof of substantive subject matter that kind of transcends generations.
Yeah.
So you're right in that regard.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? They are working on new music because I saw them and Prince Paul hooked up. So, I don't know if that has anything to do with the announcement that their stuff is, getting to streaming platforms, but I'm excited about it. Because I think Prince Paul, again, as a producer, he's always an incredible creative. And I think that them coming together, it's just going to be nothing but, dopeness. I can't see them failing coming together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like if we see Andre Big Boy sitting down with Organized Noise and Mr. DJ, like, how can this turn out bad?
So a couple things. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is De La's MC's voices part of the issue here? Because when you were going down the front, man, I was thinking, well, damn, that's Chuck D.
Yeah.
That's Ice Cube. That's Easy. That's like the voices of the frontman Prodigy. Dre.
I think
like
they have good voices. I don't think they have bad voices, but maybe not the most commanding.
But they have great rap voices is what I'm telling you, because what we unpacked last year is how much like voice. Oh, well, the shit that you spitting is fine. But the people who ascend are the people that have the voice that goes with what they are spitting. Like it's not just Method Man, it's the voice. It's not just Big, it's the voice. It's not just Pac, it's the voice. It's not just Nas, it's the voice. It is the voice. It's not just Chuck D, it's the voice. It's not just Ice Cube, Scarface. It's not just them and what they're saying. It's the voice. It's
I think
the voice issue for De La. Because maybe it's not that they're not stars. Maybe it's that their voice isn't star enough.
I can't disagree with that.
Because when you were running that list of people, I was thinking, damn, all of their frontmen have better rap voices.
Yeah, and again, I think that when we look at EPMD, it's kind of a similar thing, you know. And again, I think EPMD was slightly before my time, so people who grew up on EPMD look at it very different than I do. But me going back and listening to EPMD, like I like the songs and like the production, but you know, as far as like from a rhyming standpoint, it was like, you know, cool. You know what I mean? It's no Rakim or Kane or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
DFW Herbie with the super chat says, I forgot to mention the last time a candidate for verse of the year is Pusha on Simba's record. Fire. Well, we're getting into a whole new year, man. We're gonna get some new Pusha coming soon.
Me and the MJ year, we on 23.
Yeah, we're in the MJ year. Where do you want to go next? Because we were
Well,
just
I
go
had
ahead.
one more place I wanted to go before we bust a move.
Okay, because I was thinking the Snoop thing, but go ahead.
Well, you want to know it, and this is a conversation because he would be in that conversation. Is Method Man the greatest rap collaborator ever? That was my main epiphany that I had when you were talking because I'm thinking about all the great records with somebody like a Redman. I tell you, Mike, like my favorite two Wu-Tang albums are actually the Purple Tape and Liquid Swords. And it's very, very clear in my mind, those albums are not the same without Method Man's contributions. They're
No, they're
not.
not. No, they're not.
Neither one of them.
No, they're not. Method
Iron
Man
Man with box in
is
hand. Like when he shows up, he just shows out, and he showed up and shown out on so many people, R&B and rap wise. Mobb Deep on Extortion when we were having the Patreon, I was like, oh yeah, he's on
crazy.
Extortion. I was like, yeah, he's
Yeah, and he's on Helter Skelter's Magnum Force album, killing it.
yes, he is.
Um,
He's everywhere.
Method Man is like Snoop in a sense where we take him for granted, you know, and I think that we take his presence and what he does for that group and for others for granted. I mean, even, you know, I don't know how everybody feels about this record, but that All In Together Now record on the Limp Bizkit's album that
No,
Premier
that goes.
did, that
That goes.
nigga, he went crazy on there.
That goes.
He could
That's
have
what I'm saying.
easily just dialed that one in. He went
Remember
crazy on there.
the vibing record?
Yeah.
Remember the Postman remix, the vibing
I
record?
mentally stab your brain with the pain while other niggas spit mad flames. I spit game. You know, yeah, he went crazy on there. He went, you know, at that time, and maybe people who weren't around don't understand. Busta Rhymes was rapping clean up on everything because he had such a crazy voice, style, and everything.
Delivery,
Nobody was
everything was
going behind Busta. Method Man went behind Busta on that Vibe and remix and stole the show.
it's
That's
not a
who
problem.
he is.
It's not a problem.
That's
It
who
wasn't
he
even a
is.
problem. It was pretty effortless actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
effortless.
pretty effortless.
Uh,
Didn't put much work in to do it. And then you look at like all the young cats that he's worked with and like all the battle rap stuff.
Even Conway with Lemon.
That's what I'm saying.
I think he is the greatest collaborator ever. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking while we're talking. I mean, a lot of people would probably say Lil Wayne, but I'd say Meth. And you factor in his hook game on top of that.
No, that's what I mean. Like ice cream's not ice cream without Method Man. I don't care
Cream's
how
not
much y'all
either.
niggas- I don't care how much we love those two beats. They're not the same without him doing those hooks.
Nah,
It's
Cream,
not.
yeah, Cream and Ice Cream are big ones.
I told you, like the end of Ice Cream, the outro to Ice Cream. That's one of my favorite like rap outros like ever. Like it's one of the best rap outros ever, where he just starts freaking it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
LP,
it's one of the best
LP
rap
with the
outros
super
ever. It's
chat
like he gave
says,
the record so much flavor. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
it's just so much soul, for lack of a better term. LP with the super chat says, Jay Dilla killed De La and Tribe sound, in my opinion. Huh.
Chill.
Interesting.
What does it mean?
I think that he means once Dilla came into the fold, those groups were never the same. That's factual to a degree. I mean, it
Well,
was a change that they felt like they had to make. I think that when they made that change, from you talk about stakes is high and beats, rhymes, and life, they thought that was going to be the future for them, but Dilla belonged to somebody else. Jay Short with the super chat says, why do y'all think Meth never made a classic? Solo classic. He means, I think that all the props that we're giving Meth for being possibly the greatest featured artist ever, I think Meth's more of a team player than a solo act, even though he probably has the most star power of damn near any MC you could think of. I think he's more comfortable in a group setting, or like even with Blackout, I could tell he was more comfortable having Redman there than he was on Judgment Day. You know what I mean?
He's got some Kevin Durant to him in that regard,
I think so.
where it's like, well, he's actually the star of the team, but
He
the
thinks
way
about
he
the
plays,
team.
but the way he plays the ball game and the way he thinks about the game, you would never know that he's actually the star and the lead attraction. Because even next to Redman, he's the star. Even in Busta Rhymes in the room, no, he the star. He the star. The only time he's not the biggest star in the room is probably if like Pac and Big was alive and in the room, and maybe like like Nas early on, Jay. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm
no, he the
glad you
biggest guy in
brought
the
up
room in most
Buster.
of the rooms.
I'm glad you brought up Buster though, because Buster embraced being that solo artist. Like, look at how Method Man jumped into being a solo artist, and look how Buster jumped into it. Buster embraced being a solo artist, whereas Method Man, you could tell he was still in the group, whatever, whatever. You know what I mean?
But I also believe that leaders of the new school had some competitive fervor issues
I
that
mean,
maybe
when you
led to
hear
some of
Woo
that
Ha,
behavior.
and I guess you could say the same thing about Bring the Pain. When you hear Woo Ha, you hear a solo artist. Like, this doesn't sound
Yes.
like a guy that was ever in a group. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. So when you hear Wuha, you hear a star, which is correct. When you hear Bring the Pain, you hear somebody that can be the greatest MC of all time, though.
You think so?
Right. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Frank Wizard with the super chat says, like Guru said, mostly the voice.